Hello, welcome back to another segment in excerpts from A Spiritual Ascension. Sorry, just putting on my timer. Um, so I wanted to talk about fasting. Um, may not be an important thing on your journey, but I found it to be extremely um, important on my own journey. So, again, everything that I say here to you guys is just an example of what may happen on your own journey. So, I kind of learned about fasting probably just before I started my journey in 2020. And what may have triggered it, I'm thinking back. Um, the pandemic had started in the beginning of 2020, and I was kind of, all of us were on lockdown, and I couldn't travel often to go get food. So, what I ended up doing to make my food last and then learning more about fasting is just eating during a certain window of time. And I think my time might have been from like 9 to 1 or something like that. I was doing 4 hours of eating. And I don't know, I'm a morning eater. Like I gotta eat in the morning. Like actually my stomach's like growling right now. So if you hear it. um, I know some people will wait until the evening to eat, um, or wait till after 12 and do their 8 hours. It depends on how many hours you do for fasting. Um, but I noticed, like I've always, I shouldn't say always, as a teenager, like growing up, I was always, on the thin side. Never had to worry about my weight. Um, it seemed to be after my son was born that I started to it started to come on, and I thought I could do the same type of eating that I used to do with, eating cookies and candy and everything, and it would just, not affect me like before, and never gained weight before. And now all of a sudden I was gaining weight. I went on every diet you could think of, and really at one point had got really kind of heavy and but didn't really know anything about, exercising or eating right, eating the right foods and everything. So that was really difficult. So, like I said, back in early 2020, I think I kind of said, okay, what's this fasting thing, this intermittent fasting? I continued that into the beginning of my journey, but then with things starting to happen that I kind of didn't have control over, I kind of went off of it and kind of also being able to eat when I could, when I had access to food. And then in 2023, when I started my real journey, because the first 3 years was more about letting go of the past, letting everything go. And then 3 years in is when I really started this journey towards my destination, my destiny. Um, if you've been following along with my story, it's on a different playlist. When I left the house I was staying in there, I kind of left without anything, no money, nothing. And I had just enough money to like get a donut the next morning. And for the next 24 hours, I didn't eat anything. I think the next day I had another donut. And again, um, I was fortunate enough for a friend of mine to help me out and sent me some money, and I was able to go to the nearest like fast food restaurant, and I was like so hungry at that point. But there seemed to be this correlation between this journey that I had started and fasting. And if you know anything about fasting, it's supposed to be bring you kind of clarity of mind. And I think, especially if are American from the United States or, even Canada, we are so used to having our 3 meals a day. We have to have breakfast, we have to have lunch, we have to have dinner, and a lot of us have to have our snacks in between. And our body really wasn't made to consume so much food. Um, so again, I was gaining weight, and I noticed during those couple days of fasting that the weight was coming off. Plus, I was on the move too. I was constantly moving, walking, and it kind of like a ding ding. Okay, between the fasting and the movement, there's something there. So fast forward to 20, yeah, still same year, still having issues now that I had some food, access to food, like 3 meals a day. Um, I said, there's still like, I still felt like I needed to get back to where I was previously. And I was, asking spirit, universe, divine, what could I do to, you can ask the universe anything, especially your spirit guides are there to help you, your ancestors. And all of a sudden, these videos on, it might be Big Brother too, right? Google. They say it listens to you. I don't know. Kept popping up about fasting. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I kind of forgot about that. And I know in the past, I had mostly did like fasting, like eat for 4 hours. Like I would eat breakfast around 9 o'clock and then eat lunch around just before 1 o'clock and had those 2 meals. And and then I was going for a walk every day. And I seen, but there was progress, but it was slower. And then I came upon like eating 1 meal a day. And you think about it, um, even in the Bible, you think about this provision of the Israelites in the wilderness, and they would get their manna once a day, right? There's something about just eating once a day. And again, most people cannot do this. But I started what they call OMAD, 1 meal a day. Um, and the weight, and in New York City, you're always moving, going up and down the subway stairs and catching the bus or walking down streets. And so you're always moving anyway. Um, and the weight started to come off. And I was like, oh, okay, here's my solution. But of course, life happens, and I kind of still held on to that for a long time, even when I started traveling to come up north. And but then started working a 9 to 5 job, and there was always food around, always food, and cupcakes and cakes and ordering lunches out and stuff. And um, pretty soon again. Plus, I think the stress of the job of being around people too that were chaotic and things like that also probably brought on the weight. But now that I left that, and I could now kind of the last 2 months of really focusing on myself and my health, and walking for an hour every day, and just I guess within the last 6, 7 weeks have gone back to that 1 meal a day. And most people are like, oh my God, how can you do that? I can't just eat it. I think it's all, sorry, I got the stove on. um, I think it's all like just a mind frame set, and not everyone can do it. But there may be a time where it comes into play during your journey that you may need to do some fasting. And not saying that it's going to be one time a day or some, I mean, eating one time a day, but the universe also wants you not only are, like I say, you're alone during that time, but wants to make sure that there's clear, um, how do I say that? Clear, that there's no fogginess. And when you're fasting, you have this clarity of mind. Um, and if you don't believe me, please just Google the benefits of fasting, and you'll see all the benefits that come along with it. Plus, I think it's something to do with your when we eat many meals, it like spikes up our sugar level, and then it has to come back down, and we eat again, and it spikes it back up again. And our body really wasn't made for that. I'm not a medical expert. I'm just saying from my own experience. And I know the benefits have been um, so good for myself, even like skin clearing up and just feeling really well. I know like usually around 6, 7 o'clock at night, I'll get a little hungry because I eat now like 10 to, because my stomach, I'll eat between 10 and 11. And then around 6, 7, I get a little hungry. So I'll have coffee and that kind of quenches the hunger. But then I won't eat again until 10 o'clock the next morning. And that seems to be what works for me. And so I don't know if that will help you in your journey or along your way, or even if you're starting or ended in the middle, whatever. But just know that it's more of it could be also a very spiritual thing of, going through a fast for some time. And if you're not able to do, the one meal a day, you might want to do 8 hours of eating, 16 hours of fasting, however it works for you. But and maybe you're not even ready for that yet, but there may come a time when it may become important on your journey. Okay. So, all right. I said enough about that. Thank you so much for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.